Morgan.
And I'm Jake, and you're listening to Neverland Navigation Radio, where we talk all about the roller coasters of Walt Disney World.
Yep.
How are you today, Morgan?
I'm good. How are you?
You know, I'm great. I'm pretending that we haven't spoken, even though we have just come back from a trip together to the Walt Disney World.
Yes.
Yeah.
We have been together doing this all day.
Yeah, we had a fun little trip. We ended up in Magic Kingdom to see the Christmas decorations, because, you know, it's Christmas now.
It's the very beginning of November.
We're recording this November 2nd, so today was the first day that the Main Street tree was up.
Yeah, which is weird.
So we got to see that, which is cool, because we love Christmas in Magic Kingdom. So.
Usually it goes up overnight on the night of the 31st, but this time...
The tree was missing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
Yeah, it took an extra day.
Day late there, so we got to go see that, and we ended up doing a review for Columbia Harbor House, so you guys will see that soon if you...
And Boardwalk Pizza window.
Yeah, and the Boardwalk Pizza window. We did a double header.
We had some good food today.
Yeah, we did. We had a lovely time, and now we're here, so we've had a great day.
Yeah.
Today we get to discuss kind of a fun, interesting topic that is the draw for a lot of people at Walt Disney World, which is big budget rides, in some cases.
Yeah.
And some more than others, let's say.
Right.
Because we're talking about roller coasters.
They were probably all big budget when they were built to begin with.
Very true.
Yeah.
Absolutely true. Yeah, especially, you know.
Because something that
for the time
thrills people of today is different than what was thrilling 50 years ago.
We've talked about that before, and I think it's so important to remember the context of when these things were built when we're discussing whether or not they hold up. Because one thing is what they were designed for, and another thing is how they play to the current audience that's enjoying them.
Sure.
Sometimes they're very different things.
Yeah.
Space Mountain, groundbreaking. You know, that I'm sure that's one we'll be talking about. It was, I believe, Florida's first indoor theme, one of the first indoor roller coasters in the world.
First in Florida, yeah.
Yeah, so that's, you know, kind of a huge deal. It was groundbreaking. Right. Imagine there's never been a roller coaster inside before.
Right.
That, you know, talk about a groundbreaking attraction, but now we kind of look at and think, well, look at that old hunk of metal. You know, it's crazy how, since things have come so far in these attractions, that the way we view them really shifts with the times.
Right, we're a little spoiled now, I would say.
Yeah, oh my gosh, just by technology. I mean, that's how technology is supposed to be, but...
Right.
Wow, the spoils of it, when it comes to Disney attractions, you get such a level up. Yes. In terms of quality, in some cases.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so...
The roller coasters, which is what we're talking about today, is definitely most of my favorite rides are roller coasters.
A lot of the heavy hitters are roller coasters. There's just something about the nature of a roller coaster, especially Disney roller coasters, which are inherently more family friendly.
Absolutely.
There's something about the Disney roller coaster that combines Disney's classic theming and storytelling.
Storytelling, yes, totally.
With, you know, the thrill of, you know, putting your body through some ups and downs and sharp turns that you get from a roller coaster. Something about the excitement and the storytelling that makes for a very fulfilling ride experience.
Yes, like with Disney, I would call myself a roller coaster girl, but there are definitely other theme parks where there are some I won't even go on.
Right. Are you already talking about, like, the Incredible Hulk over at Islands of Adventure?
I do go on that one, but there...
Really?
Yes, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I love
Proud
that
of
one,
you,
actually.
Morgan.
Thanks. I feel like the Incredible Hulk over at Universal is like an outdoor version of Rock and Roller Coaster.
It kind of is, yeah. It's I would say that the Hulk, I would say, is a little bit more intense. Yeah. But I think something that differentiates it in a big way from Rock and Roller Coaster is that in Rockin' you can't see anything. Right. And in the Hulk you can kind of see what's about to happen. Yes. Even before you get on the ride, you can see the track. Right. So it makes it, almost for me, makes it scarier because you can see everything that's happening to you. Sure,
but some people that don't like the dark, you know what I mean? Or have a harder time with that one.
Good point,
But no, I'm talking about some of the roller coasters, like in Six Flags. I think there are some...
Busch Gardens.
Yeah, Busch Gardens. There are some newer ones in Universal that I haven't experienced yet, just because I haven't been to Universal in a while, that I might question before going on. You know, SheiKra, when it first... In Busch Gardens, which has they called it a 90-degree drop, but I think that it actually was like... 87 degrees or something like
but
that.
But the drop, like, when you're in the park and looking at it, it looks, like, mind-blowingly
That's a whole nother... That's a totally different ball game than the roller coasters at Disney World.
Completely agree.
But the storytelling and all the details that Disney puts into their rides, I like that so much better.
Yeah, I mean, as a person who enjoys... my favorite kind of roller coaster outside of Disney coasters is a wooden coaster, mostly because
those scare me.
And people hate them for a lot of reasons.
Yeah,
like
do you find them rickety?
I do.
Okay,
I find them rickety.
Like
there is something that is really, like, I don't want to say relaxing, but I do want to say something comforting and almost exciting about the way that they do, vibrate or ricket or whatever.
Sure.
And then when it comes to the history of rides, some of the most decadent ride histories come in the form of these beautiful wooden coasters, which are like totally a feat of engineering and totally an interesting part of attractions history. Is one of my favorite roller coasters for a long time was Gwazi, which people think of as a neck breaker
at Busch
Gardens because people would leave it with back pain.
See, and I wouldn't go on that. Not because it looked so intense. It looked rickety.
The first time I rode it, when I came with my family, when I was a young kid, when I must have been, maybe 8 or something, we rode it like 5 times.
Wow. Okay, so you were a roller coaster kid from the start.
Oh, yeah.
See, not me.
I wasn't doing Rockin' or The Incredible Hulk or anything like that as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
I was doing Big Thunder. I was doing Space. I was doing Expedition Everest even. I was doing the more family-friendly of them. And I would say most of the Disney ones are family-friendly, but they've got some that are a little bit more...
Varying degrees.
Yeah, they came with that 90s thrill-seeking, step above wave of attractions.
Yeah.
So they're a little bit more geared toward the teen and older.
Right. So some of the ones you mentioned weren't actually around when I was a kid.
Right, sure.
But I went on Thunder when I was a child of probably elementary school, I want to say.
Definitely a family.
High elementary school. And I did like Splash Mountain, but that was like the extent of what I would do. Tower of Terror, opened when I was a kid, and I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole.
It was a lot.
Now that's not a roller
As
coaster,
a kid, yeah.
But I didn't wind up really going on roller coasters until I got peer pressured into it as a teenager.
I had to suck it up.
Which I feel bad for my mom.
Yeah.
Because she would have loved to go on roller coasters with me.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't do it. I was kind of a brat about it. Wouldn't do it. And sat off, and they did child swap or whatever. And then peer pressured, which peer pressure sucks, but that's what got me onto roller coasters.
Hey, you young listeners, don't peer pressure your friends into doing scary stuff they don't want to do.
Don't peer pressure people
Be supportive.
into doing anything they don't want to do.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's what wound up getting me to go on them, and then I kind of looked back on it, and I was like, I wish I would have gone on these my whole life.
Sure. I never had the chance, because I had very much a suck it up and do it kind of dad.
You were told you had to do it.
I wouldn't go as far as to say told, but I was raised...
I've seen people drag their kids onto roller coasters in Disney.
It would have never gotten that far because I was raised in a way that said if you were to do something that would be in any way inconvenient to the family, that you were being a problem starter, that you were being selfish and difficult, or needy and spoiled. So because of those dynamics, it was never even really a possibility. If we were in line to do something, we were going to do it.
My parents were pretty cool about the fact that I wasn't wanting to do that kind of stuff, but they would try bribery.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How did that work?
I'll buy you the shirt.
Yeah.
Because it's always you're a kid, you want the shirt.
Or the toy.
Yeah. But like for Splash Mountain, I got a Splash Mountain shirt for going on it. So that did work. I didn't like it at the time. Splash Mountain. My dad, there's a couple little drops before the big drop, and after the first one, he's like, oh, that was it.
Oh, no, that's terrible. Not lulling you into a false sense of security.
I think it was a joke. He's really, funny. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
But
I thought you were saying to calm you down.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to ask him what his motivation was at that point. But so I didn't do Tower of Terror for the shirt, but my brother did. And, like, he doesn't go on Tower of Terror now, but I go on it every time.
Oh, I love Tower.
And I was so jealous that he
Talk
got the
about
shirt.
theming in a thrill ride. It doesn't make the roller coaster list, obviously.
It doesn't, yeah.
But
we did talk about adding it, though.
We talked about just doing thrill rides.
But then there's, like, a line that we couldn't figure out what makes it and what doesn't make it.
Thrill ride is a little too subjective, but we feel pretty confident about what is and what isn't a roller coaster.
Because we looked up the official meaning.
And because I do think a roller coaster is one of those things where you know when you're on one.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, you can just tell.
Where I don't think Test Track is a thrill ride.
Right.
But I'm sure some people do.
I'm sure a lot of people find it very thrilling.
Yeah.
Not us, because we drive on I-95. So, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
Or I-4 or any...
I-4, the Death Trap freeway of
Any
America.
freeway in Florida, which is, you know, Danger City, USA.
Right.
Well... Should we go? What the main component of this episode is going to be is we're going to go through the 8 roller coasters at Walt Disney World, and we're going to rank them from 7 to 1.
And I'll bet we're pretty close on our list.
I bet we are, but it'll give us a chance.
Yeah.
It's going to give us a chance to talk about each of the rides.
So let's talk about that. Is it or isn't it number 8?
That elusive number 8. The number 8 on this list is the Barnstormer.
Goofy's Barnstormer.
Yeah, this is in Storybook Circus in the Fantasyland section of Magic Kingdom. It is a...
Is that not considered its own section of Magic Kingdom?
Isn't that weird? But I feel like they break it down to that stuff is just Fantasyland.
I just think of it as being its own thing because I don't go back there
very
often.
Do you just think of it as being sad that it's not Toontown Fair or Mickey's Birthday Land?
Yeah.
Yeah, same.
Toontown Fair, throwing a Roger Rabbit ride back there would be nice. But anyway...
You just blew my mind.
But that's what they have in Disneyland.
You're right, but like that's exactly what they should do.
I know.
Or you know what they should have done? Put Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway
back there. Oh my God, you're so right.
That's what they're doing in Disneyland. They're putting it in Toontown.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I didn't know that. That's exactly where it should be. And then they could have left Great Movie Ride and done what we thought they should do and upgrade it. What you thought.
Here we go again.
Disney Plus. Okay, I'm not going to.
No, I'm just kidding.
No, you're so right.
Every episode,
we're like,
we end up talking about the Great Movie Ride or the Osborne Family Spectacle of Life, because those are just the things that we miss the most. So, you know, even whenever we're talking about Disney, those things come back up, because those were some really memorable attractions for us. Hard to see them go. But some of those,
and especially when it's something that really we don't feel like it needed to go, it really just needed to be updated. But
it is harder when you feel like it's a mistake.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Goofy's Barnstormer, is that's a roller coaster that was built with children in mind.
Yeah, totally. That is 100% a children's ride. You know? Parents will shove themselves into it for their children, which is lovely. But it's not going to make our list because, number one, it would be number 8 for both of us, obviously. Right. But also because it doesn't feel fair to rank it amongst these other roller coasters because it's not designed to be an e-ticket.
It's not a thrill
thrill ride. So, you know, it doesn't feel right.
There's not usually a long line for it. The height requirement is much, much, much lower than on all of the other rides.
It's a different beast.
Although I will say in the 7 that we are going to talk about, there are pretty wild differences between, you know.
But I love that.
I do
because
too.
I love that Disney has like the variety of the art form of roller coaster available for everyone to enjoy.
It does make it so that somebody that's not really a roller coaster person has some options that might work for them.
You know what Disney does spectacularly is the introduction to roller coaster. Like, because from the time they're tiny,
Your
they
very
can
first
go on the
coaster.
Barnstormer. And then from the time they're small, maybe they work up the courage to do one of the other ones I'm sure we're going to talk about. You know, there's really a great escalation of building yourself up all the way to something a little bit more on the intense side.
I would actually go as far as to say some of the newer roller coasters that are less intense that we're going to talk about. I don't know why we're acting like this is a surprise, but that's okay. Are maybe less intense than Goofy's Barnstormer because that one's so much older. It's got the rickety.
Yeah, that one makes you feel like you're in traction. It's just a different kind of thrill. The thrill is, will I leave alive?
Yeah.
But not that it's unsafe, just that it feels like it's like
not that there's giant drops or upside downs or anything. It's just a lot of like banging you around. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of jostling you in really tight corners. Let me tell you where you're gonna feel this one: in your hips from banging against the side of the seats, in your knees from banging against the front of the ride car.
The cars are small.
You get all of that pain all over. So that's why Barnstormer's not on the list. Just a different setup.
But even with that, they put a pretty cute story in there. You know what I mean?
They did at least do a little think, and I think the goofy billboard with the cutout of him.
So cute.
I think that's like an iconic.
It is.
Thing. So Disney putting that much thought into there is really kind of a testament to the fact that they are putting thought into kind of every little thing. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And I appreciate that.
I do too. So that's kind of number 8, but again, that's a kiddie roller coaster. Should I go on to number 7?
Yeah, so we're going to go ahead and start the actual list here.
Yeah.
I am curious to see how our things line up.
Yeah, me too.
All right, do you want to start?
Oh, yes, but see, with
hard,
7...
right?
Yes, so I've got really some ties.
Oh, really? Yeah. Well, tell us when you've got something that you're... Well, maybe don't. Because we got to name all of them anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
And we'll just know that it was neck and neck.
Okay, well, my bottom 2 are neck and neck. So I'm going to name what I actually wrote down as my bottom one, and we'll just go with it. Big Thunder Mountain Railroad.
Really? I will say Big Thunder is toward the bottom of my list, too. Not because I don't love it. It's because it's a tight race. But what landed it low for you?
So this is a roller coaster that I would almost not call a roller coaster. There's no drop that doesn't curve at the end. And it's crazy, like rickety. I mean, I know like I'm using these words a lot, jostling, but that's just how it is. That cave part, is it a cave?
Yeah.
That is not fun. It's
First
so
of all,
loud.
It's better in Disneyland because there's theming there, like in the
there's
TNT
a totally different story, yeah.
Right. And
I mean, not totally. It's still the mountain and
right. It's still actually I'd say vaguely
cave with bats versus like the explosion situation. Yeah. Okay.
They win for sure. Not even close in my opinion from everything I've seen. But yeah, honestly, the main detractor for Big Thunder for me is that it's fairly uncomfortable. I do have some great memories on this ride, though. What do you like about Big Thunder?
What I like about it is the nostalgia. Yeah. It was the first roller coaster that I did.
But also the theming is pretty good.
It is. And they're coming out with a movie, right?
Yeah, I thought I heard something about
Maybe
that.
it's a rumor.
I wonder,
double check.
I wonder, it doesn't, not that it particularly pertains, but...
Well, it might, because it might become like a huge... right now, it's like a 20-30 minute wait.
Oh, you're so right.
If it gets a movie, it's going to be...
Like Jungle
Cruise used to be a 20-minute wait, and now you can't get in there.
Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson ruining my Magic Kingdom visit. Because, I used to ride the Jungle Cruise for 20-minute wait.
Uh-huh.
I love the Jungle Cruise.
Yeah.
Y'all know I like a bad pun.
Yeah.
Y'all know it. So when that movie came out, and it not only did they do kind of a refresh of the story of the attraction a little bit, changed around a couple show scenes, there's all this added hype because of the movie.
Right.
So now I gotta wait an hour and a half to ride Jungle Cruise.
Yes, and at first I was like, why are these lines so crazy? And
Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
Yes, but also people were like, oh, they changed things.
Oh,
but then once we went on it, I was like, they barely changed anything.
They took stuff out.
They took a few things out.
I'm not saying it didn't need to go.
Not a problem.
But I am saying that people, I think, definitely did overcrowd the ride a little, thinking that it was going to be a totally different experience.
It does look like the Big Thunder Mountain movie is something that is coming.
All right. Well, you know what?
So we'll see what happens
You know what?
If they redo it and it's smoother, great.
I was just about to say, best case scenario, and I think this with Journey into Imagination as well, which is also getting a movie treatment. Yeah. Best case scenario, they keep maybe the bones of what's there, but they take that intellectual property and they use it to plus up the experience for a better guest.
Smoother, right? Like if they just take a few months and... update it a little bit to fit with the movie. Yes, and then do whatever you need to. I don't know what needs to be done to take a roller coaster that is, jostles you around and turn it into something smooth.
Retrack it.
Is that it?
It's time to retrack Big Thunder Mountain.
Because the newer roller coasters that we have now are smooth.
Yeah, they've retracked Space Mountain.
In Disneyland?
Yeah. I don't know that they've done ours, but
ours is very jostly.
They've retracked roller coasters, and I think Big Thunder needs it because it is extreme. Like, Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, which is shockingly comparable to Big Thunder Mountain, both in theme, story, and everything. I can't believe they're practically right next to each other. Another thing.
Yes.
The Seven Dwarfs Mine Train experience is like 5 times as comfortable as the Big Thunder Mountain experience. Yeah. So like that to me is saying we really need to do something to update Big Thunder Mountain.
Right, because right now what it has going for it is nostalgia.
Yeah.
And that's about it.
Yeah, I mean, the actual theming of Big Thunder Mountain is beautiful.
It's fun.
Yeah. Like, it's that big, huge rock sculpture. I think it's actually really
iconic,
cool.
Of course, but that's not nostalgic.
You're right, but it's also not even, what you're riding the ride for. You're riding the ride for the ride experience. So you're right, it's like just nostalgia. So I hope that movie brings in a Big Thunder Mountain update. That would be lovely.
Yeah, that would be wonderful.
Yeah. All right, yeah. I'm with you.
Okay.
We definitely need... But my number 7 is actually... This is going to be crazy for some people, because this is a lot of people's favorite ride. And I know everybody's got favorite rides.
Sure.
But a lot of people...
Well, everything we say is going to be somebody's favorite ride.
Space Mountain.
Space was my next one that was basically tied for number 7.
We flipped. Yeah. Big Thunder is my 6th. Okay. So, like, the deal with Space Mountain for me is that, number 1, I am a tall person. Over 6 feet tall. So, when I ride the ride, I feel like I'm going to literally lose my head. I feel like I'm going to scalp myself. I feel like that ride, something about the combination of the dark and the, like, metal frame of it that is almost visible while you're riding it. Something about it is frightening to me, not in a fun,
right.
Not in a fun, thrilling, frightening way, but in a concern for my safety level way, that I just don't really enjoy the ride when I'm riding it. I'm very busy praying to God that I'll live.
Sure.
And then the other thing about it is that I find it to be deeply uncomfortable, not only because the track is not smooth, but also because the ride cars themselves are like, you have to like stick your legs in little sleeves.
They go basically around the person in front of you.
And for tall people or big people, it's like... It's
not long enough. Yeah.
It makes you feel like you're like, well, if this ride stops suddenly, I'm going to like split my shins in half. Because it's going to like...
Right.
It's just not a comfortable ride experience, It might have been for a majority of the people when it was built.
Right.
But now that, the average American body is different than it was then, I think it's time to, at the very least, get it to Disneyland.
Yeah, standard.
Comfort,
right.
yeah.
So ours in Disney World, you have 3 persons to a car and they are 1 in front of each other.
Yeah.
So you can't sit next to somebody in your group. But in Disneyland, it's 2 to a row, which is much more comfortable.
Yeah.
And you don't have that, like, kind of straddling the person in front of you.
That's not comfortable for anybody.
Yeah. They do that in Matterhorn in Disneyland, though. But here, let me weigh in as a shorter person.
Yeah.
Okay? I am 5'2".
Yeah.
So the seat part where your legs are around essentially the person in front of you, although it's like plastic in there, they don't feel it or anything.
Yeah, no, it's not weird like that.
It's not weird like that, but
it is uncomfortable like that.
A tall person has to have their legs like bent up.
Yeah.
And I've seen that. I don't have that problem. I could probably stretch my legs out and be completely flat. But what I do have a problem with is actually the feeling like your head's going to be chopped off. That still happens when you're 5'2".
Really? Oh,
which
no.
means it's got to be something of like
an optical illusion.
You know how when
Maybe,
you're going into a parking garage and it feels like your car's going to hit, but you know that the person that's in a bigger car behind you is going to have the same feeling.
That's a good
what
point.
It is. That doesn't make it any more
The
fun.
dark doesn't help, because it adds that level of uncertainty.
I'm not saying it's a fun feeling for anybody, but it's weird to me that somebody over 6 foot would have that same sensation as somebody that's so short like me.
Have you heard the story of the woman whose ride car was detoured into a maintenance bay?
I mean, I heard it from you.
This story haunts me every time I go to ride this ride because I think about it, which is awful because if I could take it back out of my mind, I would.
Yeah.
But there is a woman
Don't you hate it when that happens?
Who rode, so I'm about to do it to all of you. If you really enjoy riding Space Mountain, you don't want it to be ruined to you, I am not kidding. Skip forward 1 minute. There's this woman who is riding Space Mountain, and something went awry with the manual direction of the cars, and the ride system sent the car that she was in, apparently by herself, I suppose.
Which is weird. I still am having a hard time with the story, but go on.
Into a maintenance bay.
Mm-hmm.
Which is terrifying because they're extremely, they're not designed for human beings to go into. So really? The ceiling is extremely low, and it's very dangerous for you to be in there.
Was she stopped in there?
She was stopped in there. So when she went in to the maintenance bay and was extremely afraid, cast members came in and tried to help her up, and she slammed her head into the ceiling accidentally, sued Disney, and won a boatload of money.
Oh, wow.
So, as she should, to be honest. So, that thought is with me whenever I'm riding Space Mountain. Hello, welcome back to the people who want to keep Space Mountain pure in their heart.
And skipped forward.
Yeah. That honestly, that as a person who oddly recalls stuff like that in the moment, it freaks me out on that ride.
Yeah, I get it. I do think about from the 90s, the death on Thunder Mountain every time I get on Thunder Mountain. It's not something that can leave my head, but I think that was a fluke. I think the thing you're talking about was a fluke.
As a person of logic and reason, you think, well, that has happened once in millions of riders.
Probably billions.
And Disney takes phenomenal safety precautions almost every day. Every single day with every single cast member, you just have to think that is a once in a million thing.
Yeah, exactly. With everything that we just said, I actually feel crazy safe on Disney roller coasters.
Yeah.
And I think that, I also, on stuff that has drops, not just Tower of Terror, but Tower of Terror included, but also, Rock and Roller Coaster and stuff like that. When I was younger, my stomach would go up, you know what I mean? And I got that feeling. And I don't get that anymore, and I think it's because I trust Disney too much.
Wow.
I don't
You're
have that.
Nothing's gonna happen.
I'm
Mickey's here.
Yeah, Mickey will protect me.
I kind of agree, though, because for me, it hasn't taken the thrill out of it, for me. Mm-hmm. But on the same token, you definitely do. And honestly, this is why I prefer that. You do feel that sense of security from a safety standpoint.
Right.
And it allows you to be better immersed into the story of the theming.
Yeah,
storytelling. So, for that reason, and because that is what Disney does best about these roller coasters,
right.
I am beyond, and obviously for wanting to be alive as well, I'm beyond grateful for the safety I feel on these rides.
Yes, me too.
But Space Mountain,
Yeah.
That one gets me a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I just don't love the feelings that I get on that anymore, so I don't go on it much anymore.
It hurts my head.
Yes, it gives you a headache because of all of the shaking. Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Right. It's also mostly turning. If you haven't been...
It is a lot of turning.
Yeah, you're you go down a little bit and you turn, and then you turn, and then you turn, and then you're turning in a loop-to-loop.
And I have a little
Not a upside-down loop-to-loop, just a...
And when you're doing the really fast spiral at the end of those sound, that gives me a panic attack every single time I'm on there. It freaks me out. I hate it.
Yeah, I don't. So for that one, it's the same for me. It's the nostalgia. I love the shape of the building.
Yeah.
Please don't take that away.
I love the shape of the building too. It's the most iconic shape of Tomorrowland, I would say.
Oh, for sure.
But I also think here is an opportunity for a ride to be reimagined in a really compelling way. I think there is going to be a generation of Imagineers here soon who are going to be tasked with taking these landmark attractions and making them feel like a modern day brand new ride
while keeping the nostalgia,
while appeasing the people who die hard would chain themselves to this ride.
Sure. That would be a tough thing to do, but I really think it needs to be done.
I 100% agree. I think there's going to be a whole generation of Imagineers who get to be the ones to write the classics in the same way that Disney is finding success doing that now with these live-action remakes.
Yes.
There's a generation of directors right now who are taking those classics in their hands and sometimes totally fumbling the bag.
Totally failing sometimes.
But in other times finding some real box office success with these, huge Disney titles. The time is going to come, and this may sound pessimistic to some, we are due for an economic recession here coming soon, according to industry analysts. So, in that, when there is a recession, Disney much more values the guest experience than they value their shareholders' comfort with, the product that they're offering, because in those moments they financially need to have people fill their park, so they will kind of bend over backwards to help, make sure that people are happy while they're in Walt Disney World, so that they can rely on that. This is historically. Okay. The business model has changed.
Yeah, things have been very different recently.
So, if and when that time comes, or perhaps we're beyond that time, we may see, Disney taking some bigger steps to kind of address some of the things that park goers aren't the most happy about quality-wise right now. And when that happens, I really believe that is when the door will be opened to take another look at some of these things that could be very profitable, very marketable attractions, like the IP of Figment, like Space Mountain as a concept, which I'm sure we'll have a film made about it, similar to this Thunder Mountain thing.
Don't know how, there's not much story to that one, but okay.
And here comes, that's true, but I'm sure they can make some type of space port.
They could make any movie that has to do with space and then call it a Space Mountain
Exactly,
movie.
And I'm sure that's what they will do. And they will make these e-tickets again. If not to capitalize on the Genie Plus aspect of it and make more e-tickets so people spend more money if they increase the number of individual Lightning Lane sales per park or whatever the strategy might be. I just don't see how the strategy of coasting on nostalgia at the expense of the regular guest experience is going to work for them.
Yeah, there's got to be some sort of
balance
between nostalgia and not feeling like you're on a ride that was built in the,
And I think they know that because when they got some budget for Epcot, they said, all right, what are we going to do about Spaceship Earth that's falling apart?
Is it that it was falling apart, or is it that it's not up to date?
No, that's what I mean. That it's stale,
Sure.
It's like, first of all, it's rickety. It's not falling apart, but like when you ride it, you can hear the track beneath you, you know what I mean?
Sure.
It feels dated. But also, it is incredibly for the last event of it being the invention of the internet, it feels behind the times. Sure. I actually felt like the version prior to this current version, the Jeremy Irons narrated iteration of Spaceship Earth, was in some ways more futuristic than the current version we have, which is mind-blowing.
Well, they were trying to show you things that would happen in the future and things that did happen, and then those things weren't futuristic anymore. So it's like they were like, we're just not going to try to show you the future anymore.
They just gave up.
Yeah, that's what happened.
Okay.
And so now the last thing that happened was something that happened a long time ago. So
they didn't win. It still feels stale. Yeah. They didn't win that battle of trying to keep it modern by erasing.
The whole part going down where you're picking... there's the screen in front of you. We just went on this today. It's such a nightmare. Jake's head was totally cut off.
It doesn't work. First of all, it doesn't always take your picture.
We got off the track. Not on Spaceship Earth.
Off the roller coaster track. Oh no. Off the rails. But yeah, they looked at Spaceship Earth and they thought, okay, what can we do to refresh this old classic?
Get rid of it and build something else.
They found a new angle on it and they decided, all right, we're going to add some stuff. Okay. We're going to add some technology.
You did name the one, because I was like, yeah, but they haven't really done that. They've gotten rid of stuff. They gut stuff and make it something.
You know where they've done that? California. They've taken Tower of Terror and they said, make it Guardians of the Galaxy. Right. They've taken a couple of different experiences, kind of turned them, like, I'm thinking the Incredicoaster, which I don't think was done to a great effect, but maybe an attempt was made to rejuvenate the ride, you know what I mean? Because, like, they added soundtrack, they added static figures, they didn't go above and beyond and add animatronics or projection mapping or anything crazy. They just said, okay, let's take the bones here, let's add a little something to plus it up, and let's call it something else, and maybe that will be a refresh. And the guest satisfaction has been pretty high on it.
Oh my god, I love it.
So,
but
there's some guest satisfaction for you.
But California Screamin', which is what it was before it was the Incredicoaster,
right,
had no theme at all.
Right.
It was just a really awesome roller coaster.
Right.
Now it's a really awesome roller coaster with the Incredibles music, with a story. Right. There's actually a whole story that you're going through and you're chasing Jack Jack. That was great. Okay. Does that go against what I was saying, though? Because that is one that I like that they changed it.
No, I think we're both saying that we just want to see improvements made to these rides.
Disneyland certainly took Space Mountain, like you said, and did whatever they needed to do to make it a better version of itself.
Yeah. But they also introduced overlays. They introduced Hyperspace Mountain. They introduced Halloween Space Mountain, where it was spooky.
They didn't have that. I just got back from Disneyland, and they didn't do that this
Maybe
year.
It was a temporary kind of thing. But
I was looking forward to it.
But either way, like, the different iterations of Space Mountain they've done over there have kept it fresh and kept it interesting.
They did update It's a Small World in a way that some people hate, but
They took the chance on it, yeah.
And so they can do it, you're right. They can do it.
So I think we need some of that Disneyland energy of how do we bring these up to, what people are expecting.
Instead of getting rid of them.
Exactly, instead of, like, leveling them. Like, before you tell me what's beyond Thunder Mountain at D23, why don't you make Thunder Mountain rideable?
Yeah.
You know? Why don't you make it so that I don't feel like I'm dying when I'm on that ride?
I definitely wish we could get away from the... it's good enough because it's been good enough for 50 years. Yeah. That's not really...
This is a shout out to my friend Tori. One time she was working at a cupcake shop in Orlando, and she brought cupcakes to us, and we were on Big Thunder Mountain, and she opened up the cupcakes and started eating them. And
the ride?
And we wanted some, so she passed us some cupcakes mid-ride. That's dangerous. Don't do that. Keep your hands inside the ride vehicle at all times. But yeah, that's a fun rebel child memory I have of that. Don't be dumb in college at the same time. Yeah, for sure. All right, where are you for number 5?
For number 5, okay, 5 and 4 are tied.
Really?
They're so similar, actually, in my head. I know that they're not really, but
okay, interesting.
I'm going to give number 5 to Slinky Dog Dash.
We're the same for number 5.
In Hollywood Studios.
Yeah.
So this is a newer roller
Pretty
coaster.
new, yeah. It came, okay, Galaxy's Edge was...
Here we go.
What, 2018? So surely Toy Story was 2017? I'll look it up while you talk.
Okay, so Slinky Dog Dash is a roller coaster that is in Hollywood Studios, and you are riding Slinky Dog and going around all of these fun, I don't know,
2018.
2018. It is a roller coaster. Again, the theming is kind of, well, I mean, everybody loves Toy Story. It's not... This one will work for kids that aren't ready for, like, Rock and Roller Coaster or something like that. This is pretty tame.
This is an in-betweener.
Yes.
This is...
There's no loop-de-loops.
What Big Thunder Mountain was for us is now the comfort and luxury of Slinky Dog Dash for the children of today.
And you get all of that cute, adorable Toy Story stuff. So even when I don't get to get on this ride, because this is one that always has a long line...
It is the first Disney Genie to go.
Yes, the line there is kind of a nightmare because it's outside, sun's beating down on you. It's not like Disney's done great with some of the lines. Yeah. Like the Mine Train line is great. Peter Pan line is
half of the Mine Train.
Great.
The line is great because it's inside. The other half is outside.
Okay, yeah. Anyway.
Do you want to know that that's how this ride loses major points for me? Is I almost fainted in the line for this ride once because it was... No. Slinky.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Because it was so hot. It was like at one of those in Florida. We have these... Oh my gosh, sometimes we just have like 95 degree, 99 degree days. Yeah. Just happens for us. It was one of those days we were outside.
99 feels like 120.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was one of those days, for sure, and it was me and my fiance, and we were in line, and we didn't have water, and lo and behold, when you're in that heat for 2 hours, sometimes you almost pass out. And
I wouldn't wait. But
it was brand new, so we wanted to do it. And we just didn't know. We just didn't know that the line was going to be all outside and that long, because Toy Story Land was brand new. And we just didn't know that it would be so, overwhelmingly hot, and so much of that line in the first part of it is not even in the shade.
Right.
You're just outdoors.
That's why I look at it and go, I can't.
At least Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, you're undercovering a lot of the time.
Or I would do it with a Genie Plus back in the day. I would do it with a Fast Pass. Oh, that's what I was going to say. That's what I was... Sorry. No. That's what I was getting to. Even when I don't go on this ride, because there are a lot of times I don't go on it because the line's too long and it's outside.
Yeah.
This ride brings so much aesthetically to Toy Story Land that even if you don't like roller coasters, it is gorgeous.
It's the centerpiece of Toy Story Land.
Or gorgeous in a fun, there's the statues.
It's got childlike wonder.
Yes, Jessie and Rex are talking. There's the Christmas lights up all the time.
It almost gives me a similar feeling to the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids playground.
Yeah.
That was ironically probably literally in its same location.
Remember where Slinky, I told you this a while back when I was writing the blog. Right. Slinky Dog Dash is where the Earful Tower once was.
Which is the same area of the park that Honey was in. The back lot, whatever part.
I just found that so interesting.
But yeah, it does feel like that, where it's that larger than life, childlike wonder kind of idea. And it really, I think for Toy Story Land, I don't find myself in that part of the park very much, because I don't feel like it is... I think it is more geared toward children than obviously all of Magic,
it doesn't
Walt
feel
Disney
that way
World
to me, but
has the notion that it's geared toward families. But I just don't I'm not waiting in line for Slinky Dog Dash,
right?
And I'm not doing Alien Swirling Saucers,
right?
And I'm really not going to wait for Toy Story Mania if it's more than 30, 40, not even that maybe will I wait for that. So I just don't really. I'll walk through there.
That's what I do. That's really what I like doing. Because, especially at night, the Christmas lights all year long, the oversized Christmas lights, because it's supposed to be that you're shrunk down to the size of a child when you walk back there. No, the size of a toy, I'm sorry. And so there's giant footprints on the ground, and there's these giant Christmas lights and toys everywhere. And I just think it's super fun.
It is.
I can definitely see why you would feel like it's geared towards children, and you're totally right. But for me, it's the Toy Story itself is very nostalgic.
Yeah.
Toy Story came out in 1995.
It was a good choice for, a land in Hollywood Studios, I will say.
Yes.
Because, they already had, obviously, the Toy Story attraction, and the geography of that worked for them. But more importantly, they picked something that... Would I love for Hollywood Studios to still be doing the behind-the-movie magic thing? Yes. But that is way bygone by now. So if they're just picking movie universes to explore, I think this was a good choice.
This was a good one because the first movie came out in 1995, and then we got a Toy Story 4 3 or 4 years ago.
So now adults love it, kids love it. They've really built what Disney loves to build, which is generational connection.
Right, and there's a quick serve back there. Even their bathrooms are themed.
They're about to get a new ride.
Really?
Oh, no, sorry. They're about to get a new restaurant. They're about to get a barbecue restaurant in there. It'd be really exciting if they were about to get a new ride. Sorry, I didn't mean to get everyone's hopes up.
You got mine up. Just for a second, though.
Sorry.
No,
all right, our number 5 is the same. Should I do number 4?
Yeah.
Number 4 for me is Seven Dwarfs Mine Train.
So me too. Those two were basic. That's why I was saying they're pretty similar.
They are similar. The only thing that gets Seven Dwarfs Mine Train up for me is the animatronics of it, which I really enjoy, because
the swaying, or no for you?
I'm okay with the swaying.
I love the swaying.
I like the swaying. I think the swaying adds an extra element.
Element that we've never seen on a roller coaster.
Yeah, really fun. I have no problem with the swaying. But the animatronics of it.
Sure.
There's only one animatronic in Slinky Dog Dash. It's Wheezy at the end, the singing penguin guy. But everything else is a static figure. But in Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, not only are there animatronic dwarf characters in the actual tunnel of the mine with their, their gems and their diamonds. But then at the end, there's the house with Snow White and those figures, which was taken from Magic Kingdom's Snow White ride. So there's history there.
Was it really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
There's history there for me that I really enjoy. Because remember, they did the whistle while you work scene in Snow White's Scary Adventure? They took those same animatronics and they put them in the house.
And there's the evil queen as the... Yeah, and she's outside the house. That's from that too, I'm sure.
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense. I just hadn't really put it together.
Yeah.
Well, I guess if you're going to tear down something that people love, at least put some of it somewhere else.
I almost really enjoy the fact that they said, all right, we've got this Snow White ride. People really love it from a historical angle. But what else can we do with this? We're doing New Fantasyland. Originally, New Fantasyland did not have Seven Dwarfs Mine Train announced for it. It was added later on, which is fascinating.
Which is crazy because it's the biggest thing there.
It is like the centerpiece of New Fantasyland.
The individual lightning lane, which means it's the biggest ride in all of Magic Kingdom.
That's about to change. But yeah, absolutely.
That is definitely about to change.
Yeah. But
we're getting Tron.
So Seven Dwarfs, you better enjoy your glory days while Snow are in them.
Yes.
Because, it'll be coming to an end soon. But as far as...
we'll have another roller coaster to add to our list.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, so true. But as far... We'll come back to this. But as far as, revisiting movies go, as if they said, all right, we're going to take Snow White, we're going to do something else with it, roller coaster, I love that they preserved something from the original ride for the fans of the ride.
I really like it when they do stuff like that.
Yeah.
Even like with Mr. Toad, there's the deed where a picture... in Winnie the Pooh ride, which took the place of Mr. Toad for us.
Yes.
There's a picture of Mr. Toad giving the deed to Owl, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, thank you for doing that,
Cute.
Imagineers, because it's adorable, and it makes you feel kind of like...
Seen.
Yeah, seen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Recognized
You're not
for
just
your loyalty.
knocking down, all of my favorite childhood stuff.
And then they also iconically put Mr. Toad in the Haunted Mansion pet cemetery.
Right.
Which is another great
kind
idea.
of hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, it's great when you have tributes to that kind of stuff. There's, beyond
don't
one
pretend
passing...
like it didn't exist. That's what would upset me.
Beyond one passing nod to it in Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, my favorite great movie where it's twice on an episode now. It barely has any history of it left in the park, which, to me, is just gutting. But, yeah, so Seven Dwarfs, it gets its way up there above the other family ones for me because it's got animatronics, it's got a good story, it's got a pretty good line, and it's got that, that nod back to Snow White's Scary Adventure.
And if you haven't been on it, each car, sways.
Rocks,
It rocks back and forth, in a swaying...
you can rock it.
You do it. Yeah.
Like the teacups almost.
Right,
yeah.
Exactly.
And that makes it feel classic.
And yes, and it's just... It's an edge, you know what I mean?
It's something else.
But
something
this is one like Slinky where kids that are scared of big roller coasters can deal with this one.
The track is fairly tame.
It is very tame. There's no big drop.
And it's got the comfort of, look at Dopey.
Yeah.
If your kid is really scared, you can have those moments where maybe they will take a positive memory out of it anyway.
Right.
That's great.
Yeah. And I think it's a really beautiful addition to Fantasyland. It's pretty in the middle there.
This is
half the line you said is indoor and nice.
Yeah. Well,
I haven't done the outdoor part.
Oh yeah, when you're waiting for it, if the whole fence along to it is line, you for at least half an hour, 40 minutes, you're not only not in shade, you're in direct sun.
This is something that if you're coming for a trip, I would probably advise paying for that individual lightning lane to not have to deal with that.
100%.
So as a spoiled
depends on how big your family is, though.
Right?
Because if you've got a family of 7 and you're paying that, $15 potentially times 7, it adds up really quick. So
if you can't, there are other ways.
Don't feel shamed.
Yeah.
And not that but
if you get there at rope drop, that's the one you should go to.
Run.
Yes, run.
Get to those dwarves, baby.
If you do something like the Christmas party or the Halloween party,
that's your time.
Do that one. Yeah, because
if you're only going to do one thing, do the thing that would take hours outside of the sun away from your vacation.
Do the thing that is a individual lightning lane. That's how you know that it's the biggest thing.
Yeah, in Magic Kingdom, I'd say Seven Dwarfs is worth it. It's a good ride.
It is a good ride. I would definitely say
we've never even done it together, just because it's one of those things that we're not going to pay for it as locals.
Well, we used to get fast passes for free. So I have been on it a whole bunch of times when I could get fast passes for free. So now that you want $15 a person, a little harder.
Yeah, a little harder.
But if you're coming for a vacation, probably worth it. Or take one of our other tips and do it at one of these.
Here are some very quick tips for riding those big e-ticket rides at the lowest wait times possible. Uh-huh. Rope drop, the rush.
Rope drop / if you're staying at a hotel, you get in 30 minutes early, do it.
Early magic hours.
Yes.
Now, rope drop can be a little tricky because normally everyone is rushing the same ride. Yes. So you might want to keep these other ones in mind. If you're there in the daytime, during the parade, you might find a lower wait time. During the nighttime spectacular.
Right.
That currently right now is Disney Enchantment. It is about to come back to Happily Ever After.
Mm-hmm. If you don't want to see it, then that's a good time to go on rides.
During those shows, you've got to kind of prioritize. That might be a really good time for wait time.
And a lot of times, the wait time that they post during that show is not actually what it is.
Disney inflates wait times artificially to redirect the crowds. That's something you kind of have to keep in the back of your mind.
Right.
You are allowed to get in the lines for things
at close, right before close.
Until the minute it turns 11 o'clock or whenever the park is closing. So if it's 10:59, you get your butt in line for 7 Dwarfs Mine Train if you haven't done it already, because you can do it.
And that's another time where they really inflate the wait time, and it's not usually actually as long.
Not only have they inflated the wait time, but the crowd has actually really dissipated.
Right.
So it really might be a really good time to get on the ride. So hopefully those are some tips that might help you in passing.
Yes.
But I would say Seven Dwarves is one of the ones where you think smart.
Oh, yeah.
For that ride.
You have to plan. You have to plan for that one.
Yep.
But yes, those are both... Slinky and Mine Train both have that kind of little... Not little kid, but kid... or nostalgic, depending on how you look at it.
Kid-friendly, but, guest fun.
I love especially the part where you're in the mine and there's all the glowing jewels and stuff like that. I don't think anybody could not love that. It's so pretty.
It's really...
There's this song.
It does give you that old Disney feeling.
Yeah.
It does accomplish what it's supposed to accomplish. And Snow White is so special to Disney because it was the first full-length animation.
Right.
So, they really had to do it right.
Yeah.
I was happy with it.
I am happy with it, too.
Cool.
But not crazy thrilling. That's all I was trying to say.
Yeah, there's only a couple things that beat it.
Yeah.
So I'm sure our number 3 is the same.
Well, I'm not saying... This could be your number 1 if you don't love big drops and upside down.
Everybody likes different stuff. Yeah. This is just our list. We're not saying these rides are better than one another. It's just for us, these are our favorites, and it gives us a little bit of a structure to talk about.
These are all great.
These are all wonderful rides.
So you
Except for you, Barnstormer. You're good for the kids, but I'm not getting on. My number 3 is Expedition Everest.
Okay. Not my number 3.
Whoa. Yeah. All right. Expedition Everest.
Do you want me to tell you what it is for me?
Yeah.
You have to know. It's number 2.
Oh, sure.
Because you know my number 1. Everybody. If you've ever heard me before, you know my number 1.
Y'all know what's going on.
Okay.
But yeah, this one, honestly, the reason it's not higher on my list for me is because that darn Yeti's broken.
Oh, gosh. You're holding a grudge.
Well, no.
Okay.
I want the ride to work.
Sure.
That's not holding a grudge.
It would be nice for it to work the way that they intended for it to work.
Yeah.
I'm sure the Imagineers are holding.
But I'm also holding a grudge. A little bit. Because, it is annoying that it is the way it is. But, okay, so theming-wise, story-wise, cue-wise, this ride is incredible.
Oh, yeah.
This ride is, one of the most expertly told stories in all theme parks anywhere in the world.
Big part of why this is my number 2, yeah.
Yeah, I'm talking about the museum that you walk through, the tourism center that you're part of, the story is that you're with this tourism group and they're going to take you up the mountain, and there's all this lore around these dangerous encounters that these explorers have with the Yeti, and then you get up there, your expedition goes awry, and you realize, oh my gosh, I'm currently face to face with a legend.
Right.
That is the backstory that you are given through exhibits.
Yeah.
All the way up until you get on this ride. The story building.
Yes.
Before you even get into your ride vehicle.
Yeah.
There's something that you will find new every time you're in there.
Yes.
Because there's so much detail.
You actually go through a museum.
And actual artifacts from, Nepal and,
Right. They went all out.
They went
with the details.
Crazy. So shout out to Joe Rohde for that one, because he was the chief Imagineer on this. But that ride, like story wise, cannot be beaten for me. Like you could say it is the last true monumental ride, e-ticket, that was built before it became all IP everything. Because now,
yeah, that's true.
Every single thing that opens is a movie.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. They'll probably make a movie at some point.
Bound to happen. But
yes, this opened in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
And so in addition to this amazing story, it's also a phenomenal ride.
Yeah.
That gives you a little bit of everything.
About like the cool nature of the ride itself.
This is not like Slinky and Mine Train in that it's not really aimed at little kids like those two are.
I would in fact say this is too intense for little kids.
Right. You could probably, all kids
it's
are
got
different.
A high
I see 5-year-olds on stuff I'm shocked about, and I have a teenager that won't go on stuff.
Right.
So everybody's different.
Totally.
But with a Slinky, it's clearly
designed.
Yes.
Yeah.
But this is more. It feels more like it's for adults.
It's got
kind of an adult story.
It's a little scarier.
It's a little scary.
It's not meant to coddle.
The story and the ride.
I would actually say it's brutalistic in some ways, because it is, and I think the idea of brutalism is almost tied to make you feel the brutalism of feeling like you're climbing Mount Everest, which you're not. You're actually climbing some other mountain in the ride. But the whole idea...
What do you mean? You're climbing some other mountain in the ride?
So the mountain that you're climbing in the ride Expedition Everest was
modeled after a different mountain. Is that what you're saying?
It's not actually Mount Everest. It's the main mountain that you're climbing is the one from the story, and then the one kind of to the back of the structure of the ride is Mount Everest. So most of the show building of Expedition Everest is some other mountain.
Okay.
From what I've seen. But the idea of what was I even talking about now that we're...
I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay.
The brutalism. You're talking about you're supposed to feel like you're climbing a mountain.
Yeah, you're supposed to feel like the harsh elements. You're supposed to feel the grit and the dirtiness and the, all of that. So I think...
They do a great job.
Yeah.
You're immersed in this story. Something happens. I don't want to give it away, I guess, but you go backwards in this. You go kind of sideways. You go down a big drop.
That part makes me sick a little.
The backwards part?
Mm-hmm.
I've heard people not love that, and I love it.
Yeah.
You go backwards and sideways and up all at the same time.
Let me tell you something. Doing Dinosaur and Expedition Everest back to back has me fighting for my life.
Not me. I love those.
Oh, and I love...
And I could go on them over and over and over.
Don't you get me wrong. I love Dinosaur and I love Expedition Everest, so I will still ride them every time they're in Animal Kingdom. But as someone with a little bit of motion sickness, it's not Dinosaur that does it for me, but that does it to me. But when I do that and then I ride Expedition Everest, I just feel like maybe my body's been jostled around more. But even if I haven't done Dinosaur before, the reverse
up and sideways,
like the G-forces of that, they do something that upsets my motion sickness. Okay. So I don't know, that part to me I always kind of have to brace for, but it's almost more just I kind of get a headache when I ride that part.
Oh no.
So that kind of sucks.
Just for that second, or you have a lingering headache after the ride?
A little bit of usually a couple minutes after the ride I'll be fine, but in that moment it kind of gets me a little bit. So I kind of have to prepare for that. But otherwise, the rest of the ride is so brilliant. I mean, it's not that part's not great. It's just, I can't do it, really. But apart from...
That's the harshest part, probably.
It is.
Yeah.
But, the storytelling and the actual, track of the ride is, for me, so wonderful that I'm willing to kind of just deal with it. Yeah. Even though the main attraction of the ride doesn't work. I'm sure most people know, but do you kind of want to explain what happened with the Yeti inside of Expedition Everest?
Sure. I mean, so the Yeti was built, I think it was built first. It's certainly in the middle of the mountain, right? And it used to move for a very, very brief amount of time, and then it stopped working, and to fix it, they found that they would have to... they would have had to like redo the entire ride because the way that the Yeti is giant and it affects the whole ride in the way that it was placed or whatever. So they just didn't, and they added a strobe light to him. All of that being said, I know you're upset about it. I wish it worked too. I think I did go on it when it worked. But you fly through there so fast that I'm okay with it.
I do like yelling Disco Yeti at it.
Yeah, and I made a Disco Yeti shirt that we wear sometimes, and it's fun.
It's a good shirt. It's also a good ride, even without the gimmick of this, like, King Kong level attraction.
Right.
Animatronic.
Did I leave anything out? Like,
no, that's it.
That's the basic story.
Yeah, but I think what shouldn't be understated, though, was that in marketing materials, Disney was marketing this as the next thing of theme park entertainment, where these enormous, crazy, impressive animatronics, and them demonstrating the mechanics of this animatronic, this massive, swinging, lunging, architected Yeti, it was jaw-dropping and it's enormous, and you can't believe it works.
Right.
So, like, it was really going to be something hugely exciting, and it was when it opened.
Didn't it just move its arm down, though, like it was about to hit you? I don't think it did, like, a bunch of
I think it moved its entire body a little bit. Like, it kind of swayed and also swung its arm, and I think it's like, I don't know. I feel like it had more than just the arm moving. Okay. I remember, because what I remember is the
fly through that part.
Yeah, but they also had lights on for longer before it was Disco Yeti, so you could see it for a little bit longer too, so it wasn't as short. But yes, the scene itself is very short. But what I remember so clearly from a special about the building of the ride was them having it outside of the mountain in the Imagineering workshop, and them doing different tests on the different mechanics of its body, and it being so impressive.
Yeah.
So it must have been more than just the arm, because I feel like I remember seeing them. I don't know if it's as easy as press different buttons to make it move different ways or whatever, but I just remember being so taken back by the fluidity of something so huge that I was like, I can't believe that it even works.
And so it stopped working really quickly after it opened.
Less than a year, because apparently the issue was that either it was so heavy or the weight of it was being distributed unevenly in a way that they hadn't accounted for, that it was causing structural damage to the base of the Yeti. So excavating the whole thing, obviously, that sounds crazy, so I totally get why. Yeah. They haven't found a logistical solution for it yet, but meanwhile...
And I don't think they're going to.
I think that may be dead,
But it's also not terrible.
Because people still ride it. If you had
never known about...
That's exactly what they're hoping for.
Yes, because it's
just
still
us.
It's still a giant statue in there, and it's very realistic looking Yeti.
Yeah.
And the way that they do the strobe, I know it's cheesy, but it does give it a little bit of sense of motion, which is what they were going for. And I get that that's like, okay, really? You want me to believe that a disco light is making...
But it's still a good ride.
But it is a good ride, and I don't think that part is terrible.
Yeah, it's just for the people who were there for the lead up and the opening, we feel a sense of, longing for what it could be.
Sure.
But, for the people who are going for the first time, who don't even necessarily might not even be aware of that whole...
The Yeti isn't what makes that ride for me, though. I love the feeling of the drop.
Yeah.
Yes, I love the feeling of the drop. I love all of it. At the very beginning of that ride, you're kind of like slowly, like kind of going through,
drifting through the mountains.
Around. Yeah. Then you go up and you get these breathtaking views of even other parks.
Yeah,
you can see
everything.
Yeah, you can see everything from up there. And then
I feel like it's Tower of Terror. You can see pretty clearly.
I think that's it too.
Yeah.
The backwards, the big drop. There's just a lot of thrilling elements.
It's a fun ride. It's a well-designed track. It keeps you constantly kind of turned around in a different way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's my number 2. So that means your number. Well, I guess I shouldn't have said.
What's your number 3?
My number 3 is Rock and Roller Coaster.
That's my number 2.
Yeah, I figured. Okay.
Rock and Roller Coaster.
So the reason this is 3 and not 2 for me is that launch part is a little hard for me.
Like, really? You don't like that?
No, I do like it, but it kind of like knocks the breath out of me, but I think this is a personal thing because I was in childhood I had asthma, and so the feeling of not having your breath for a few seconds, I don't know. It's a lot.
Does it panic you a little bit?
It panics me. That's what it does. But so, see, I think that's personal.
I know your brain. Because when I'm sure that what you're thinking in that moment, and this is the way I think in other moments, is, okay, I'm a little panicked because of this, asthma reflex that's natural to my body, but also, oh my god, I'm on a roller coaster. I can't do anything about it.
Right.
I totally get that.
But then you go from that launch into a loop, and so then you're kind of weightless for that second.
You have no time to breathe.
You can catch your breath in that loop if you're having that. So it's really only a couple seconds of having, like, not being able to breathe.
Yeah.
But my body just doesn't react well to that.
Okay, that totally makes sense. I don't have that problem, but it makes perfect, like, logical sense in my brain.
Mm-hmm.
Rock and Roller Coaster is this high for me for a couple of reasons. Number one, music. Huge part of the ride experience and one of my personal favorite things that Disney does on a ride to envelop you in the story.
Yeah,
I also happen to love the music
of Aerosmith
most of the time.
Most of the time, sure, yeah.
And honestly, the only thing that I have to complain about on this ride, I've got two things. When I say I only have one thing to complain, it's never true.
Yeah.
Number one is that I wish there were a couple of more themed elements that you could see, because most of the ride is dark,
pitch black,
and there's only a couple of things that are lit up for you to enjoy.
Sure.
A freeway sign, a donut. The only other, but that's not my big gripe. My big gripe is the really weird selection of Aerosmith songs that occur when you get one of the randomized options.
Yeah.
So that if for some reason you don't want to know what Aerosmith songs are on Rock and Roller Coaster.
Oh, do you know all of them?
No, I bet you can skip ahead. But if you're not getting Love in an Elevator, Love on a Roller Coaster, whatever, Sweet Emotion, or there's another one that they've got on there that's lovely. But if you're not getting one of those and you're getting
one of the ones that if you're not getting one you really know and you can kind of jam out
they've got like 2 or 3 on there that are like B-sides.
Yes.
That are like, no, they're not. They were their singles at the time.
Right.
That they were promoting when the ride opened, and everyone now is like, nobody knows these.
Oh, okay, yeah, I don't. And I'm a pretty big Aerosmith fan. I've seen them live.
Aerosmith, yeah.
Yeah, but
I can't believe that, like, we're left with that.
Yeah, the last time I went on it, I was like, I didn't know that song. What in the world?
Yeah, Oh Dude Looks Like a Lady is the other option. Yeah. So, like, if you're getting one of those, like, Aerosmith staples, it's, like, the best ride ever.
Right. And they're fast-paced and they work really well.
But if you're getting one of these, like, weird Aerosmith songs, it's kind of just like, I wish I could skip this.
Okay, I'm going to throw on a little bit of the reason that this was 3 instead of 2 for me. Okay?
Yeah, I would love to know.
It does knock your head around. So, is this the only Disney ride where you have the safety harness that comes from, it goes over your shoulders, as opposed to a lap bar?
It's not the only ride, but it is the only...
Oh, right. But it is the only roller coaster.
It is the only roller coaster.
So, that... while great, because it's a great safety feature when you're going upside down, which you do 2 or 3 times in this ride. 3. I don't know. There's so much, like, knocking your head around in this ride that I don't love. Is this the shortest roller coaster?
It feels short, but I actually really like that.
That it's so short?
Yeah.
Even when you've waited in line for like over an hour, you're fine with the fact that okay.
Because I like the thrill of it, but if I'm on that for too long, it kind of makes me start to wish it were over.
Oh, really?
I have that experience on almost every roller coaster I ride, which you would think as someone who enjoys roller coaster,
1 minute and 22 seconds.
What? Wow, that's really short.
Yeah.
You would think I would never want it to end, but there are times when it makes me physically uncomfortable and I do want it to end. Okay. So for Aerosmith, for Rock and Roller Coaster, I mean, it's like a great length for me. I love that it's short. I also think that it being so fast and the music, I think there's something about that combination that makes me think, I love the length that it's at.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah.
And also in terms of like the
your head banging around
over the shoulder restraint.
Mm-hmm.
I think we have a difference there because I'm a tall person, to be honest. Because I really feel the shoulders of it.
Oh, so your head doesn't bang around?
Almost not at all.
Oh, interesting,
so that is unfortunate that it has that kind of flaw. Yes. Because a lot of the people riding that ride are not nearly as tall as I am.
Right.
Or, are young people that, they might be experiencing that ragdoll thing you're talking about. Oh, not to make an Aerosmith reference, ragdoll. But, that's unfortunate. I don't experience that, and I'm sad to hear that you do. I've never heard that before.
Yeah. Well, that's okay.
Bummer.
It's still worth it.
It's still a great ride.
Yes.
It's one of the ones that I would make sure to do every time I was in Hollywood Studios when I wasn't going on a weekly basis.
Yes, absolutely.
Now things are different.
Same.
That was I got to take my fiance on that. He'd never been on it ever. And I was like, oh, hold on. Because, the first couple seconds of that ride, when you go right from this crazy launch while it's taking your picture, so there's a flash, and then it goes right into a loop.
Yeah.
It's like you're on another planet. It totally levitates you.
Yeah.
Totally snaps you out of your life.
Right.
Which it's one of the only rides I get nervous for at Walt Disney World. I get a little bit of that, really, this is a big one.
Yeah, set you up, because when you're in the inside line after the pre-show, you see everybody's cars launching like that. Yeah. And then they add that effect of like the tires screeching.
That's what it is.
Yes. Yeah. And it's like, holy crap, they were gone in like a second.
Gone in 60 seconds, yeah. They say it goes from 0 to 60, 0 to 67, or 57, or whatever it is. But they say in, a second or whatever?
It's really low. I can't remember. The launch is intense. That's why it's so much for me, but yeah.
Yeah, that ride is... And there's something about, the story of, getting to an Aerosmith concert. You know what? Make it a super stretch, the shirt Morgan's wearing right now.
Yeah.
Oh, you can get from Neverland Navigation on Etsy. But there's something about...
Or Disco Yeti.
Or a Disco Yeti shirt.
Sorry.
But there's something about... the script of the ride and the plot of the ride that I think is really fun in a California Adventure way.
Yes.
That ride feels very California Adventure.
It does. It feels like an upgraded version of that terrible one you were talking about.
Superstar Limo.
Yes.
It's almost
because you are in a super stretch limo.
Yeah, it's almost got a similar vibe.
But in roller coaster,
It's better. It's not a train wreck.
We have talked about before that we're a little worried that this doesn't really fit in the direction that Hollywood Studios is going.
That is...
We will see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, it fits on Sunset Boulevard in the way that... But,
in the way that Hollywood Studios does?
Yeah, but maybe they're thinking, well...
This is that section?
Maybe they're also thinking, well, we've got a loose definition of Hollywood now. Because they're taking you inside of movies. Maybe it's not such a big stretch. Maybe it's not a super stretch. That we've also got, Aerosmith down there doing their thing.
I don't know.
I think they're playing a little fast and loose with the theming nowadays. So
I do too.
I think Aerosmith might slide by for a while. That's my thoughts. Yeah.
Right.
They're just like, well...
They're not focused on Hollywood, making changes to Hollywood Studios right now, so I don't think we're going to lose it anytime soon.
They're done. They just did, They just opened 2 new lands. They're keeping their hands off for a minute, I think. I really do.
Yeah.
And Mickey and Minnie's. They've really gone ham on that park lately.
Yeah.
So, I don't think. All right.
So our number one.
Our shared number one is...
Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind.
I know what you're thinking. Well, that's just recency bias. It just opened.
It's not.
We've ridden it 100 times.
We have.
So that new car smell has worn off for us. We've done it a bunch, and I can safely say it is my favorite roller coaster.
And I could go on it. Like I said, I did say that about Everest. That's true about a lot of things, but with this one, I'm still smiling ear to ear the entire time I'm on it. If they would just let me go, not get off and just go and go and go and go, I totally would.
Yeah.
I love that you get a different experience every time based on the song that you get.
Just like Aerosmith, but better.
Yeah. But better. Well, I was going to say because all the songs are good, which all the songs are good.
Now, we've already named all of the songs on this ride twice on this podcast,
yeah,
so we're not doing it again. But there are some ones that we don't think are, like, ideal for the riding experience.
Because of the tempo.
But guess what? That doesn't put it above Rock and Roller Coaster because it has the same problem. So, whatever. Doesn't put Rock and Roller Coaster above it.
Yeah. This ride gives you, like, a floaty roller coaster feeling.
Yeah. What I love about the Rock and Roller Coaster ride is the fun and the comedy and the music.
You mean the Guardians ride?
Of the story. And
you do mean
that the same about the Guardians ride.
When you said comedy, I was like, there's not really comedy
in the pre-show.
Sure, Got it.
I wouldn't even call it comedy. I'd call it the levity and goofiness of Aerosmith as a band.
Okay.
The script isn't funny, but in the way that sometimes the Guardian one, I think, kind of is.
Yeah.
So, it takes what I love about Guardians, it just makes what I love about Rock and Roller Coaster, it just makes it better. Woo! I feel like I've been on a roller coaster.
Yes. It's just, to me, it's so great, and it's got something new, because you've got that rotation that they put in there. So it's not spinning, it's
rotating.
Purposeful rotation.
Like an Omnimover on a roller coaster track.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nothing like it. Now, the question will be, in next year, is Tron going to beat Guardians?
I think it is going to be, in my book, I think it's going to be really hard to compete because I love the music aspect of Guardians so much.
Same, and I also love the Guardians movies, and I don't love the Tron movies.
Here's something that Tron might have over Guardians, though, are the amazing aspect of the ride vehicles being lit.
Sure.
And potentially views of Tomorrowland that you might get from riding the ride, which I've never even really thought about before. But just now thinking about the fact that it's kind of outdoors for some of it, that might be, something that turns out to be beautiful.
Maybe it might turn out to be rainy.
You might. Well, it's under a canopy, though.
Oh, right.
So you probably will never experience that. But also, maybe you'll have a magical moment where you ride the fireworks during this or something. Yeah. Like, there's potentials for this that we're not even thinking about
yet. My best time on Thunder Mountain, the fireworks were going off in the background.
Yeah, that's gorgeous.
Yeah.
That
it's just a fun element.
Absolutely. So, we haven't ridden Tron yet because, we haven't been to Shanghai, but we...
and ours isn't built yet.
And ours will be built sometime, but...
We've seen them test it.
We have seen them test it, and it does look beautiful.
It looks amazing.
But like you're saying, I like the Guardians movies. I don't love the Tron movies. I don't have a connection to them.
I don't have a connection either. I guess before the ride comes out, we'll have to do a movie night and watch it.
For sure, but I don't think anything can compete to that levitating to the music for me. But we'll see.
So
maybe it will.
And I mean, the movie definitely didn't have the humor that Guardians has.
No.
And I love the incorporation of humor into a ride.
Yeah.
I mean, mind-blowing to be laughing and dancing and smiling on a roller coaster.
It's the only ride that can do that for me so far. Yeah. That makes me achieve all of that at once.
Right. It's crazy. Crazy awesome.
Yeah. Well, there you have it.
That's it.
There's our ranking of all of the roller coasters at Walt Disney World. If you guys have enjoyed listening to the podcast, thank you so much for listening. If you're watching, you're on YouTube. Hello. If you're not watching, you can come see our beautiful smiling faces over at the Neverland Navigation Co. YouTube channel, where we upload this podcast.
And we do lots of reviews.
And we do lots of actual park videos as well. But we would like to encourage you guys to please, if you're listening, to subscribe to our podcast and to leave us a review and tell us if you're enjoying it. Tell us what you're enjoying about the podcast. We'd really appreciate it. Those make a big difference for the podcast.
Difference.
Yeah, if you guys have enjoyed us, you can also follow us on social media. We're at Neverland Navco.
At neverlandnavigation.co, you can find my blog, but also there's links to a bunch of really everything else we do.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's on both TikTok and Instagram. We're Neverland Navco.
Okay.
Yeah. So thank you guys so much for.
And the Etsy store. Since we mentioned the shirt.
Oh, sure. So sorry.
The Etsy store is called Neverland Navigation.
Yeah. So if you want to check out some cool roller coaster and just general Disney themed stuff, I love these shirts. They're so
and I do
comfortable
custom shirts too.
Yeah. Yeah. Check that out. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we will see you on our next adventure. Goodbye.